I was going to say I don't have a preamble topic. I kind of have one, but it's very half-assed.
That's kind of like everything you do, Hans. Let's be honest.
No, I put prep into my preamble topics. Like there's been
man.
quizzes
What
and pictures.
You probably type in the name of the game and BuzzFeed quiz and see what comes up.
What? No, how does
Alright,
do
I
I do
feel
that?
like a lot of the
Hans.
times your preamble topics are a thinly veiled BuzzFeed quiz.
Let's talk about one of the preamble topics where the whole thing was you took one thing Nick said and turned it into a big, like, question show. Like, oh, what does this word mean?
See, you just said turned it into a question show, and that took work.
Did it?
Because I had to find, I
all you
had to
had to
find
do was
big
Google
words.
long words.
Google long words, Alex, and see what comes up.
Okay.
And see if, like, yeah, you try and turn that into a fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type quiz.
Alright.
No, the only preamble topic I have is how many times completing a game is too many times.
Oh, these are actually interesting. I can't pronounce any of them.
I mean, Hans could barely pronounce some of them when he did this quiz, so that sounds about right. I know what I need to ask you guys. Or what we need to, let's say, interrogate Alex. See, I'm tying it back to Noire.
You're interrogating me?
Yep.
Why?
Because Hans and I agreed on this.
Oh, okay.
Why
I
is
think
your choice
I
of
know.
Final Fantasy games so bad?
Yeah, I completely agree with this, yeah.
Right, okay. First question.
I posed the question, if you could only choose the odd or the even numbered Final Fantasy games, and the others got wiped from existence, what would you choose?
And me and you correctly chose odd numbers.
Yes.
For the fact of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, and Final Fantasy 15.
And 11.
Right. No.
Now, my counter question, because I picked even, is did either of you play 6?
No.
No.
Did either of you play 4?
No.
I played the remake, like with the wee sprite things.
So your choice is therefore skewed because you haven't played the earlier games.
And you
they
haven't
are
played,
the
you haven't
pure-
played 15?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
So,
But I've played 4 and 6, and I think they would probably be better than 15.
You haven't played 15? You haven't played the 7 remake?
But I will, and my answer may change, but I doubt it, because 6 is incredible, and 4 is also incredible.
I think
And-
I don't think I could go back and enjoy those games. I think would just be incredibly dated at this point.
And I legitimately think that 7 remake is the best Final Fantasy game, so...
I do really like 15 though.
I like 15, but I also just feel like 7 then takes... The 7 remake also then just takes the gameplay of 15 and actually, perfects it.
Yeah, but like although it perfects it, like 15 kind of took what kind of 12 was going for, and then kind of actually did it properly.
It was not taking
Right.
12, was going for in the slightest.
If that is true, Hans, then 15 is garbage.
I don't think 12 and 15's combat have anything in common.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, because I do not want to experience anything like 12 ever again.
12 was them trying to make a Dragon Age game, essentially.
Like, I think it is a tough question because you could argue for both sides, really.
I think it like you say that, but I really couldn't tell you an even Final Fantasy game that I genuinely properly enjoyed.
See, but I could, so therefore it's tough because I have played more evens.
Are you saying you didn't enjoy 10?
I like 10. I feel like I have rose tinted glasses about.
Because I feel like of all the turn-based one, 10 is probably the best one.
And
In
like,
terms of-
I
in terms of
remember,
in terms of the combat system, it is the best one.
10 holds up quite well.
I remember when I played it on, like, when it released 10 and 10 2 as a duo pack on
Yeah,
the PS4. I went back to play it and I couldn't make it through. Whereas I've made it through and completed 7 Remake and 15.
There's only 2 Final Fantasy games that I've 100%ed, and that is 7 and 10.
No, I just don't know.
It is very difficult for me to choose, but since there's more games on the even side that I enjoyed, that's why I'm skewing for evens. Because 3 broke, so I'm biased against it because it crashed like in the end game for me, and I really didn't want to go through it all again. 5 is quite boring. 9, the story is good. I didn't like much else. I couldn't get 11 to work on my old computer, and 13 is it's all right. It's not great.
13 just hang about for too long.
I just think the combat system in 13 is bad.
I
You can just hit auto battle the entire time and pretty much make it through 99% of the battles is a bit ridiculous.
And then, like,
the
on the
story
even
is
side,
not great.
you've got 4 and 4 After Years, which I love. 6, which I love. 8, which is pretty meh. Like, the story is alright, but everything else is like, it's like 9, the story is alright, and then everything else is kind of meh. 10, it's pretty good. And then 12, let's not talk about 12 because it is garbage. 14,
But I
incredible.
think 13's garbage. Like, it is a completely subjective question, like, but like
That's what I'm saying.
I would be interested to
just-
look at like the Metacritic though. Like I feel like to look at the trend of the odds and even like Metacritic scores of like what the general like critical consensus is for them.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it now because that's a lot of
Okay.
research. But it would be interesting to see like kind of how that goes up and down.
is it like Far Cry where only the fucking odd numbers are actually good?
Can I say, Hans, right? Mm-hmm. Having finished 12 and 13, the fact that I actually had to interact with the final boss in 13, as opposed to 12, where I just set auto battle and they killed the boss with pure attacks because nothing else mattered. Stark difference.
Yeah,
12,
but I
12
just
is
feel
literal garbage.
I feel like I enjoyed the character and story of 12 a lot more than I did of 13, where everyone's just a moody cunt and the story goes so far up its own hole.
But 13 has the best character.
If you say who,
He's gonna say hope.
if you're not going to take this conversation seriously, I'm going to stop having it.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Not So Super Bash Bros presents Game Club for October 2021. Yes, Game Club is back, the monthly video podcast review thing, where we take turns picking games, go play them for the month, and come back and discuss them for your listening pleasure. This month, Hans picked LA Noire by Team Bondi.
Published by Rockstar.
What?
I'm published by Rockstar.
I never say the publisher. Yeah, I'll do that.
I was going to remember who the fuck Team Bondi is, Nick.
What else did Team Bondi make?
Just this. Literally just this.
And then they fucking bankrupt themselves.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All that facial scan technology costs dollar bills, yo.
As ever, I am your host, the good cop, Nick Davis. Joined by the bad cop, Hans Davis.
What about you?
And the femme fatale, Alex Proudfoot.
Hello. I'm
No.
curious that you went for the remastered version, you know?
I can hardly say I am the truth. And Hans is the doubt.
Sounds very biblical when you put it that way.
No IY this month. He played one DLC case. And that
Why
was
did
it.
he play one DLC case?
I believe his exact wordings were, I feel like I have as I am speaking of IY, he feels like he has played the first traffic desk about 4 times and never got any further, so he just could not bear the thought of playing through the traffic desk again.
So what case did he play?
The traffic DLC case.
So why do you not skip ahead to the other DLC ones if you don't want to play?
Because you can't.
You can if you have the DLC.
Yeah, you can
stuff.
play the other DLC, but it doesn't unlock the other desks.
Yeah, but the other DLC quests in the desks are there.
Yeah, but he just would have played 4 DLC cases and that's it.
Yeah, fuck it, better than nothing.
You literally had the exact same problem as him. Not to skip ahead to the review portion.
I actually fucking have completed the game.
So I think he's played most of it as well.
Just continue your fucking intro.
Yes, LA Noire, the third-person noir detective game, originally released in May 2011 on PS3 and 360, with later releases on the PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Hi, is everybody?
Do you think iOS is going to come in with a preamble next week complaining about Hans going off on him?
Maybe. No, I won't listen to this. What are you talking about?
No, I doesn't watch our stuff.
You're right.
Hi, is everyone?
Fine.
All right.
You're not going to moan about your pain, Hans? You're just fine. You're so full of life today, guys.
Hey, man, we're old.
Just talk about the game, the publisher, and shit.
I just did.
No, but then you always launch into the this is LA Noire. Why'd you pick it, Hans? Yada yada yada.
Yeah, which I'm about to do, but I
That's
always
what I
do
said,
the how
so
are
go
you
on,
first.
Yeah, he always says, how are you?
Yeah.
Hans, you're so salty tonight.
We've done it. Like, move on to it.
Hans just really annoyed because I feel like he's now broken one of his favorite games for himself by picking it.
I can just stop recording if you want.
As ever, I have split this into 3 categories.
Nick, what are the categories?
Gameplay,
Perfection.
story and characters,
Absolutely riveting.
and do you think we will ever see an LA Noire 2?
You're a prick. I hate you so much. You actually ruined my joke as well. Say that last one again.
No.
Say the last one again.
So Hans, why did you pick LA Noire?
My joke, Nick.
What was your joke? Just say the joke.
He was going to be like, oh, and here's the third thing. And I was just going to scream at him, do you fuck young boys? But it's just edit around it.
Okay, I'll splice it back in.
Why did I pick LA
Why
Noire?
did you pick LA Noire?
Because I was stuck for a game, and then me and you had a conversation, and then you were like, you could pick LA Noire, and I was like, oh yeah, I could pick LA Noire. And then I did.
Well,
So
I'm
technically,
starting to feel,
Nick's the blame.
I'm starting to feel real bad for putting effort into my choices.
Hey, I did for like the first, I don't know how many cycles, and now I'm just
always
tired.
like, oh, I'll pick something that's like
I
relevant.
do. I always pick something relevant. God forbid I run out of ideas.
Hey, man,
God forbid I don't look at the news for a month.
you picked that bloody dodgeball game because it was the first thing you saw on Game Pass that time.
Look, keeping it relevant gets tiring after a while.
Why'd you? I don't know. I'm not even going to get into it. We can talk about it next time. Judge the relevant. That should be our next preamble topic.
Judge the relevance of Hans's games.
Judge the relevancy of Hans's picks for like the last 2 years.
But I can't. The thing is, I'm hardly going to remember the relevancy of all of them.
Before we kick into our categories, I have to ask, how far did everyone get in LA Noire? Specifically on this playthrough, because I think we've all completed it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we all completed it in the past. Specifically, I would like to figure out to see how far everyone got this time. I got to the end of the homicide desk, and then decided this is not worth my time. Hans.
I got halfway through the homicide desk and realized I've completed this game 3 times before. I can literally recite it line for line.
Alex.
I finished it. And once again, I'm questioning why I did it since neither of you bothered your asses to do it.
Look, man, we never said you had to finish Game Club games.
Yeah.
Because part of the conversation,
Hey
you
man, I
consider...
need to experience the whole game to talk about it properly.
I have experienced this game before,
Yeah.
like 3
I was gonna
times
say,
before.
we've also all already experienced this game before.
Yeah, fair.
So, like, I could have given up on Death's Door sooner than I probably wanted to, but I was like, no, I should probably finish this. So, I was gonna say, I fucking scrolled up. I was about to start talking about the gameplay of Death's Door there. Alright, gameplay. So, the gameplay of Valley Noire is... It's split up into numerous cases that go across technically 5 deaths, but the first one is very tutorial. And the gameplay of each case is typically has you as Phelps going from location to location, finding clues and interrogating the people of interest to do with that case. And I think that loop is enjoyable enough at like a very surface level. But you realize kind of as you play more of the game, like just how kind of thin the gameplay is. Like every case plays out very similarly, and the interrogation mechanics are like paper thin.
It's rock, scissors, paper, actually, to be fair, when you said paper.
It is rock, scissors, paper, but it's also rock, scissors, paper if the guy you're playing against has the worst fucking tells in the world.
Some of them, like, before they remastered it and changed to good cop, bad cop accused, some of them made no bloody sense.
Yeah. But even then, I feel like good cop, bad cop is very... it only makes more sense because it is so vague more than anything.
And he's usually more aggressive with the doubt.
Yeah, so like the interrogation stuff is typically you have your list of like lines of questioning that you can say to the person. They'll spew some stuff at you, and then you have to decide whether you believe them, which is truth or good cop in the newer versions. If you doubt them, which is doubt or bad cop, or if you think they're lying, and then if you choose lie or accuse, you actually have to present a piece of evidence that contradicts them. The problem is, it's more like a 50-50 choice, because the suspect you're interrogating will either sit there blank face, no problem, or will look like they've just fucking smelt a fart and they're looking around to try and figure out who did it.
The more like they have farted and are looking around and saying anyone noticed.
Like, it is so obvious when someone's telling the truth because literally
they do not move. They just stare at you blankly. They don't move.
And then it's like,
when it's a doubt or a lie, they will sit there and be like, it's like what's on the ceiling?
It's like the old guy meme that goes about where he's just like, his face is just like sucking in on itself,
you know? Biggest smirk in the world. But then, like, I say it's 50-50 because then once you know it's not truth, then you just kind of think, all right, do I have evidence that contradicts this? Like, there's no difference between doubt and lie other than I have evidence. So it just makes the interrogation so paper thin, and it's ridiculous. Like, it's like, it really takes away from what is like the core bit of this game when you kind of realize, like, okay, it is so, like, it's so obvious, like, what the answer is, and the puzzling bit of it is more just, all right, what piece of evidence do I have contradicts this?
And the dialogue is so jank. I feel like it doesn't flow.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It's like tonally schizophrenic. Because like to me, it's like a case of there's one. I think it's the one where like the guy is killed a pig in his car to try and hide it, and you're interrogating his wife. Like the last line of questioning is like, pretty much on the lines of, yeah, it wasn't such a happy marriage, was it? You know, you dumb bitch. And she's like, how dare you say that? And then, like, because it's the last line, it goes to, like, the final cutscene being like, of course, officer, I'll do anything I can to help. And you're like, I just insulted you, and now you're like...
But, like, even, like, that's, like, stuff like that, that's fine. Like, that's going to be different kind of depending on the path you take through the questioning. But, like, it's even stuff like, if I hit accuse... Phelps is like, yeah, but you're lying. We know you're lying. And then they'll get super defensive and like, how dare you? I'm not lying. You're a scumbag. What are you talking about? And then you'll show them the evidence like, but it's just, I didn't mean to do it. And he's like, you literally just, it's the flick of a switch. It's so ridiculous. Like when that's the correct line of questioning, you think you would write it a bit more naturally. It's just... so much, and I don't know, like, something cracked in my mind playing this game, and I'm just thinking, like, where were we 10 years ago that LA Noire was actually very well received? And people were like, this is groundbreaking. What have we been doing this entire time? This is the best, one of the best systems in the world. And I'm just thinking at it now, it's like, what the fuck? Was everyone high back then? That this interrogation stuff was worth putting in so much money into? For them to do all the facial capturing, this massive camera rig that they had for all this. It's just, the interrogations bit of this is so janky and so unfulfilling that to make this the core bit of your gameplay is baffling.
But you say that, like, so many things 10 years ago, we look back and kind of go like, wow, that was, at the time we loved that. We look back and go like, how far we have come. Like, morality systems. Back when Fable first come out, like, oh my god, this is fucking good and bad decisions actually have an effect. And then you realize, oh, but life boils down more to just what is good and what is bad. There is a grey area, funnily enough.
Say that, but like stuff like Mass Effect has a very like binary morality system, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It's the execution of it. Like the execution of the Mass Effect morality system is still very good to this day, I think.
But it's the fact that was the. But you're saying that it was the execution back. You're talking 10 years ago, like.
Yeah, but I still think it holds up to this day.
I would say again, it's very binary in Mass Effect 1 of like it's good or bad, and that's it. And I just don't think that makes sense. This day and age, I don't think it makes sense.
The other aspects then that can kind of happen throughout a case, they're like, so you have like, you can go on gunfights, you can do like on foot and in car chases. And those bits are, I think they're okay, like they're fine, but they're so short and they just kind of, they happen and then you never really think about them again. Like I think they're typically just, they're there to break up the action, which I think they do pretty well, but they're never long enough that you feel like you need more depth in them.
I love the car chases. I think they are the dumbest fun.
I hated the driving.
Oh yeah, the driving overall is shite, but it is just the satisfaction of
Wait a second, Hans.
Yeah.
You think the driving is bad, yet you enjoyed the driving?
No, I enjoyed the car chases. That's different. Because the satisfaction I get from the car chases is not the driving. It is ramming head first into those motherfuckers. It is the most satisfying thing in the world.
I'm going to blow your mind here. You can play every bit of driving like that if you really want to.
It is so satisfying. Like, and then like, especially whenever like they turn a corner and you get the perfect angle just to T-bone them. Oh, I love the car chases. It is so
okay. I will
satisfying.
say there was one car chase that I really enjoyed. And it was like when the guy was running from, the fake houses in the end. Where like investigating the arson stuff, yeah. He drove straight into a pole instantly and I caught him. Best car chase in the game.
That sounds pretty funny. Yeah, because like those bits are fine, but like as I said, like they're all so short that there is like no depth to them. Not that there needs to be because they are, but because they are so short, because they literally just use them to kind of break up you going from place to place, looking at clues, pretty much.
To pad out the game.
Yeah.
But, like, the cars felt like the road was just slick with oil all the time.
Oh, you can make, like, super sharp turns in your car, no fucking problem.
And the AI can just float around corners. And, like, in some chases, like, they would just float around the corner. They didn't have to brake or anything, they just 90 mile an hour, run the corner, no problem. Yeah, the driving sucked.
Hey man,
I agree.
It's the 50s, dog. Cars weren't great back then.
To be fair, like that is kind of the way I think of it. Like, the driving sucked, but I also think like that they maybe just lean too hard onto the realism side of things. Of like these cars probably did suck to handle.
But I also don't think I actually feel the complete opposite. I think the cars handled too well for that to be the issue, because you can take corners very quickly in that game.
Yeah,
like I feel like you do not like one tap of the handbrake and pretty much you will go right round any corner, no problem. It's just that like I think that is the issue, is the cars look so big and bulky, but but don't actually handle it that way. So it's this weird like disconnect. I feel like, and that's why it feels really bad. Is I'm slowing the car, like originally you're slowing the car down like way more than you ever need to because you're expecting that's how the car will perform. Whereas they actually perform like fucking the cars from the fucking vehicles from Wipeout if you really want them to.
So hold on. Alex has said the cars handle like shite, and you're saying the cars handle too well.
No, I just don't think they handle how they look.
No, I'm saying they float. Like the road being slick with oil, like they will just go. And that's basically what Nick's saying, because like they will. There's like
the cars feel like they have no weight to them, despite the fact they are these big old ass cars. So it just feels like the cars aren't actually like gripping to the road or tractioning. It's not that it's not that they handle badly. It's that they do not handle like the cars should at that time. They didn't go for realism, which debatably may be the right choice, but it's just a very weird feeling when you first start driving, because it's not how you expect those cars to perform.
Honestly, if they didn't have the fast travel system where you got your partner to drive in the game, I probably would have struggled to finish this game again.
Yeah, I did fast. Like, when I remember that, like, you'll still get the dialogue in between.
Yeah, they'll just fade to black after it ends.
Yeah, once I remembered, you still get that dialogue. It's like, I'm fast traveling everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think all those for me, like, all the side things kind of to the actual kind of meat and potatoes of the investigation stuff, like the car chases, the foot chases, the shooting, and like the brawling. To me, I don't know. I think they're just dumb fun. Like, again, they don't overstay their welcome any one time. The shooting's not great, but I feel like that's just kind of that Rockstar engine. Shooting just isn't fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
So like the brawling, I just think is really silly. Like, because the minute you finish it, the guy just goes completely ragdoll, and that just makes me giggle. Yeah, like, I think those side things are just kind of dumb little bits of fun.
Yeah, like, I do think, for the most part, they are fine. But, like, but because they don't need to be anything more than that. Mm-hmm. Like, if they were maybe, like, if you were getting, like, a car chase every case or something like that, you'd probably feel a bit more like, oh, what the fuck, these feel so superficial because there's not a lot of depth to them. But I think they space them out.
They kind of use them relevantly as well. Like, it's not like, you know, like
they space them out and they alternate them enough that you never feel like you're getting the same one, like, over and over again. So
well, until later in the game, where the Vice desk is all combat. There's very little interrogation in Vice. And then Arson has a lot of car chases. Like, they do spread it out nice in the early game, like in the first couple of desks. But later on, it is just back to back. And it is very unpleasant. And in Vice, there's a lot of tailing people as well. And car chases.
Straight up, never fun in any video game.
No, it never is. So, yeah, it's fine early, whenever it's like, it's easing you into the rhythm of it. So it's like, oh, this is what you have to do, blah, blah, blah. But once it starts going like, oh, this case, car chase, foot chase, you know, shootout. Okay, that's that case done. Next case, oh, shootout, car chase, brawl. You know, and that's the only thing that gets mixed up is the order you do it in.
Yeah. So did you guys do many of the, like, incidental crimes that kind of popped up as you were going from place to place?
Not this time, but I did them before.
So I feel like if you were probably doing those, I bet if you were like doing those religiously as like they popped up, I would bet the like side stuff would get very tedious. Because like a lot of those are just like you'll do a gunfight, you'll do a chase. Yeah. Like I feel like that's all those incidental crimes kind of are, is like they are one off of like one of those wee side activities. Like there's never any like interrogation or anything involved with them. So I feel like if you were probably doing those religiously as they popped up throughout the game, they would, like, those side activities would get very monotonous.
The one thing I do like about the side activities, though, was like how it does kind of, some of them actually close out the story for some of the side characters in the cases. Like, maybe this is leading too much into the story, but like Dudley, the bartender, and the wannabe actress from the hit and run case. Like they have like one of the side cases about them where he's like stalking her essentially, and then you have to chase him to a rooftop, and he jumps off. So I do like how, and then also from that one, Sheldon, he ends up hitting another person, and you have to do another car chase with him.
Yeah.
I do like how the side missions do close out some of their side character stories. I think it's a nice touch.
So the main thing I do want to bring up about the gameplay, and we've talked about this, I think, quite a lot as we've been playing through this. This goes back to the interrogation stuff mainly. You cannot feel this game. You can be the world's worst fucking cop. Make Phelps the most gullible fucking guy in the world. Mash truth throughout every interrogation. And the only thing it affects is your rating at the end of the cases. You will still get to the end of the game. You'll still be congratulated. 9 times out of 10, you'll still get the right guy. But then that doesn't make you feel the case anyway. In the cases where you could choose the wrong person. The only way you can feel a case is if it is in those side activities, essentially. Where Phelps can die, or you can lose a subject in a car chase. And sometimes when you lose a subject, you don't even feel, to be honest. But
yeah,
the
just
fact
locks out a line of questioning.
Yeah, the fact you can just mash your way through those interrogations, not list like the key bit of your gameplay, insanity to me.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
But I completely agree, but I do feel like it is because of technological limitations at the time. Like, yeah, 100%, like, it makes absolutely no sense, and there should be a better way around it. I do feel like if it was made on today's sort of consoles, absolutely, it'd be way better. But I feel like that is just due to technical limitations at the time.
But why do you think that?
Like, I just don't feel like the game was already across 3 discs on Xbox 360. Like, so for it to then introduce the ability then for like a branching system that you're going to miss some parts or you're going to get some parts, like activities or events within a case. I feel like that would then up adding more space onto the or more information onto the discs to the point where
just made you feel.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like, why not just like, all I'm asking for is like certain people, like certain suspects in a thing are like, they get marked as like, this is a key suspect. And if you don't get
like 2 out of 4,
yeah, like
right?
X amount of questions correct, you will fail the case and have to repeat it. Or like, you'll have to use like an intuition point to restart this line of questioning. Like something like that. I'm not asking for like big multi-branching like Detroit Become
also
Human.
Made intuition points useful.
But then to me, I'm sitting there going like, that. To be honest, if that was the case, I just wouldn't have finished the game, because if I have to sit there and go through if I fail a case and then having to restart it, fuck that.
Well, you wouldn't restart the case. You start from the checkpoint, which was before the interrogation.
It's just, you typically get checkpointed pretty much anytime you arrive at a new area.
I just feel like there are better ways than just giving you a flat out game over screen. Like a lot of games nowadays don't have that. Like, I feel, I suppose, like, you just the way that you feel the game is just you die.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, I get you can't die in the middle of an interrogation. As funny as that would be if Cole just randomly had a heart attack.
Oh, maybe that's the fail safe.
If you got too many things wrong, Cole dies. That would be really funny.
Like, just various deaths every time.
But that's why you adapt your game to fit like things like that. It doesn't need to be Cole dies. It just needs to be, oh, you've lost the main line and you have no other leads to follow. Try this again. Like, it's the fact that, like, it's not even that, like...
Because, like, he doesn't die when you fail to, like, kill someone and it restarts you.
But then I feel like, so say like you're saying, but then I don't see... So, like, if you go with Alex's thing of then, right, you just go back to a checkpoint. Well, how, like, Grant does, you just go back to the checkpoint, but then at the other side of that is, why bother just going back to checkpoint? At the checkpoint is just the very start of the question.
But then you could say the same about any game. Why does Call of Duty let you die? Why does Mass Effect let you die?
I feel like then just... For the sake of something like Call of Duty, or for that is due to your lack of skill getting you there.
Yeah, and if you have a lack of skill in being able to...
you have the lack of health points and stuff hitting it anyway. I just feel like...
But what Nick is saying is, you will feel because you have not taken in the information.
Yeah.
So it is very much on you and your logic to carry you through to succeed. If you feel basically the trial of working out, say you get the thing wrong, it's a lie, but you picked the wrong evidence. You go back to the checkpoint, well, I know it's a lie, but that's the wrong evidence, kind of thing. Maybe I misclicked the evidence, whatever.
I just disagree that a fail screen is the correct implement of that. I just don't think a fail screen is the correct way to do that.
It's like, if you have it, so key suspect, you've got 5 questions. If you get the majority of these right, you move on. But if you fail, you've just lost the key suspect. So you can't progress the case, so you need to do it again.
For me, I think a better way of doing it is that if you fuck up this suspect's questioning, then you say, for example, like you said, if you want to do the key suspects, there are 5 key suspects, and that you can arrest these guys at any time, whatever. That the way it should be is that if you fail a line of questioning, well, then you just don't have enough evidence to book this suspect, and then that is you're losing out on the chance to do certain events that will get you to arrest that person. That should be the punishment. I just don't think a flat out binary, but then, you fail or you succeed is the right way.
That goes back to your point of this was 10 years ago, it was already on 3 discs. You can't start adding all this extra like, oh, there's so many branching paths you can take and different bits of dialogue that we need to trigger.
Also, what if there's only one suspect at that time? Because you question...
That's just a poorly written crime.
No, but like there are points in the cases where you only have one suspect.
Yeah.
So if you do that, then if you don't get a game over, you have a void where you don't have anything to go on.
But sure, like the thing is, if you write it correctly, there would be like, outside of literally just questioning, you would be like, oh, here's a location to go visit because you found the match. For example, a matchbook. Here is, I don't know what other evidence you find, but you always have a new location or something that you can go to, you know? So, like, to me, yeah, like, there is a key, like, I feel like there's always some way that you can book someone, and then even if you want to, you could literally have it be that, right, you have no evidence, but yeah, you can still arrest someone just for the sake of arresting them, but then that affects your score at the end.
And it just seems like such an odd choice to me. Like, when other games with similar mechanics, and like, I'm thinking of like stuff like Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa, games that have these sorts of like, you need to puzzle things out and figure out the right line of questioning or the right links to make. Those games incorporate game overs and stuff quite well, and it never feels like a chore if you get it wrong to go back, because you're only going to be put back 5 minutes max, if even that. I don't see why this went down the route of fucking just say whatever, you'll get to the end of the case, dude, don't worry about it. It felt like it was, like, when you realize it, it just feels like, why am I even trying to do this correctly if the game doesn't care? Also,
the reward for getting like high scores at the end of the case is intuition points, which are useless.
Yeah,
because all they do is they give you 2 options. You either get rid of one of the choices, so lie, doubt, or like accuse, or truth. Sorry. So like you get rid of one of them, so you've got a true 50-50 choice, or you can ask the community, who are always wrong. Because because I had so many intuition points, I was like, I might as well use them to see what the community thinks. Every time I did it, they were wrong.
The other side of that is it's funny that you do better, you get more of your intuition points back. But if you're doing better, you probably don't need the intuition points because you sussed out the
exactly.
game.
They just feel so useless.
It just felt so weird to me. Like and looking back, it just feels like such a baffling design choice that it's hard to like figure out how someone looked at this and was like, "This is the way to go, guys. We nailed it. Good job."
Yeah, it's just so, because you can. The fact the story progresses in the exact same manner no matter what is so weird.
Yeah, like it's like you do get like occasionally you will get like a different cutscene at the end, but I think those really only happen like whenever you can like make a choice about who you want to kind of prosecute.
Yeah.
Like, I think at the end of the day, fucking Irish McCaptain face will always be like, oh, well done, Phelps, me boy. You're great. Even if you were the worst fucking cop in the world. I suppose it kind of fits under gameplay. What did you guys think of just like the like graphics in this in general? So obviously they made such a big deal about the facial capture stuff when this game was coming out. How do you think it's aged?
I remember at the time thinking it looked dope, but no, it hasn't held up well.
I actually think like a static face, well, most of them anyway, I think you can tell they've probably put a lot more care into some of the faces than others. Like, I think a static face typically looks really, really good. Like, I think you can tell, like, yeah, they've actually taken, like, really high-quality scans of someone's face and kind of textured it on. I just think in motion, a lot of the faces look very cartoony, would probably be the way to phrase it.
Like, I just think they look glitchy. Like, if they go in profile, you can see the blur around their face, and then their mouth and teeth, like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, it just, like, you can tell they were probably told to, like, really exaggerate their probably mouth movements a lot, and then maybe they overdub some of them later, because it feels like a lot of people are opening their mouths way too wide in that game.
It's just very... I just, like I say, like, at the time, it was awesome. You did. But, no, like, watching it, like, seeing it again, I'm just kind of like, oof.
And like, no one would ever go down this path again. Like, I think facial capture technology and like motion acting has come like leaps and bounds probably since this came out.
Well, I would say like I can see like you can see that this technology or like has like definitely set up the kind of the groundwork for like what would become GTA's like just the way that the kind of like the brows and stuff move. You can see that in like. Especially the cutscenes for like Michael and stuff when he's in with his psychiatrist. Like you can see, like it's a weird thing, but you can actually see like the brows move in a very similar way. So you can see that this technology definitely set up the groundwork for what Rockstar used going forward.
Yeah, but you can see where this kind of was like the start of like moving towards we have either real actors or actual voice actors and like properly mocap their faces with like the dots and stuff and like close camera angles, and then taking that forward to where Naughty Dog particularly have kind of went with it, where like we are acting out full scenes in motion capture studios with the voice actors in their full get-ups.
Do you know what the mental bit is? I don't know if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of this, but did you see the cameras that they used for this?
No.
So essentially it was a big white room and the cameras were actually like on this massive rig, and the guys were actually sat in a chair with it was almost like a barber apron around their neck, and then they would do the acting, and these 12 cameras, whatever, which were on a rig in front of them, pick them up. Yeah. Whereas now these cameras are hooked up to people's faces, like
there's like one camera like a couple of inches from your face as you do your acting.
Like to see where technology has gone from and to in 10 years is fucking mental.
I don't even like facial capture stuff was. It wasn't obviously as widespread and it probably wasn't as high fidelity back then, but I also like it was around, and I honestly think you would get the same effect in this at the time. Like I probably would have I was going to say it probably would have been more work, but it probably wouldn't have been more work. Like it probably would have been just as much work to have good facial capture or like do just motion facial capture with like the traditional stuff and then kind of tweak it where you need to. I feel like they've done a lot of work with this sort of style without a massively good payoff. Like, it's striking, and I think at the time especially, like, it felt like it definitely was a big hook for the game. But part of me thinks, did they only really do this as the hook because there wasn't much else there? So, the story and characters. Do you want to start with the story, or do you want to start with the characters first?
Whatever you want, man.
I'll start with the characters. I think Phelps is boring as fuck. I think he gets outshone by most of his partners as, like, an interesting character.
Yeah. Like his
That's not
backstory.
controversial.
I'm not saying it's controversial, but I think it's a poor indictment of this game that your main character is like the least interesting person in most scenes.
Like the backstory has the potential to be interesting, but it's kind of they kind of build it up with no payoff.
Yeah, like that is like I have that like they have like Phelps's like his main character development is he cheats on his wife.
Yeah,
and then but like there's very little build up to like his motivation behind wanting to cheat on his wife, why he would do it, like why he found the singer so interesting. And then even after that there is very little build up and like to him wanting his redemption, and then the heroic quote unquote sacrifice he makes at the end feels very forced. It just
I was actually going to ask, like, did he need to die? Because, like, what does it accomplish? Nothing.
Like Phelps's whole arc just feels so underbaked, I think would probably be the best way for it. Like you can see what they were kind of going for is like, oh, Golden Boy Cop has this big scandal, which honestly is not really that much of a scandal, let's be honest. And then like once it's like has this whole big heroic redemption that only a few people will ever know about. And is it Jack, the guy you end up playing as towards the end?
Yeah, Kelso.
Yeah, he's the one that wants to, he'll try and help like carry on Cole's like legacy, quote unquote. But like it just, I feel like none of the big points of it like stick the landing. Everything just comes across so like underbaked and half developed.
So when I said backstory, I actually didn't talk.
No, you mean like the army stuff?
The army stuff.
I think that ties in because like he was like this army general that kind of like never really lived up to what he thought was his potential.
Yeah, and like it did get brought in a wee bit at the end, but it's never like the army stuff was interesting because it actually showed character. Because like he feels he doesn't deserve the medal, and he was a crappy commander, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you feel like it's easy to see why he went from like, oh, and then he joins the police because he wants like some form of redemption, like wants to like be the person he thought he should have been in the army. But yeah, just all of it just comes across as so like it's all there in the background because the cases take up so much of the actual story.
Yep.
But they can't. They struggle to tie the cases into Cole's story.
Yeah.
I feel like if they had like brought those bits into, like we had talked about it before, like if they had brought those bits into the cases, not necessarily need the cases to tie into it, but like for example, whenever Cole is having the affair with the singer, like somehow have Cole react to that, let him be more secretive, or let him sympathize with. Let there be a case where there is a husband who's having an affair and he kind of sympathizes with the husband, and therefore he's like, right, well, shit, I can see myself in that. And then whenever he's doing the redemption arc, when he's been knocked down the arson, have him become that really desperate, like to the point where he's really nearly physically assaulting a
witness,
or a culprit, like have those, like have the story tie in, because then that not only does that kind of bring the background stuff into the forefront, but it also makes Cole more interesting.
Yeah, because like all that sort of story pretty much gets told in like
cutscenes
in between at the end of each desk, and sometimes in between each case. Like you'll get like a 15-second cutscene of Cole going to the jazz bar where your woman sings,
and like it's never even like revealed, but like it's heavily implied that like what's your partner in Vice called? Earl?
Yeah.
Earl
Roy
is
Earl,
the one. Roy Earl is the one that
first names there.
He revealed the affair to the papers.
Yeah.
Like, because he saw him go to the... Like, have that be a thing. Like, fucking I would have like... Have, like, at some point, let me have a fight with him, like, and like a brawl with him.
Right. Also, who the fuck cares? Who cares if he's having an affair?
I would imagine it's probably
this is like uber Christian
Every fucking
America.
husband you meet in that game has either killed their wife
True.
or is cheating on them.
But they
it
aren't
just seems like the thing to do in the 50s.
You're right.
But
you're
it's
right.
not. They are not a well publicized war hero that's like all over the papers and is the golden boy of the.
police force.
He's embodying the American dream and all this shit. Like, I think that's it'd be like, fuck, I don't know, what would be the modern day equivalent? Like,
Also, was adultery a crime in the 50s in America?
I
Because like
don't
they were
know.
whenever you're demoted, it is like talked about that you've done a crime.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Plus, did you know that they are? I know it's obviously there, but they actually took a desk out of LA Noire.
Did they?
Yeah, because whenever you get a burglary desk, because whenever you go from when you go from traffic to homicide in the first cutscene, Captain McIrish face says, "Aye, and we're happy to welcome Cole from the burglary desk up to homicide. Take a bow, Cole."
Yeah, because they definitely make it sound like there's been like a way bigger time period than you would actually expect from like, especially if it's like, oh, you've been taken off my hands, Cole. And you're like, all right, suddenly it's like 6 months later. It's like, wow, that fucking change of department took a while.
But yeah, so
So I just Googled it because why not? Some states still have it as illegal. Adultery is illegal.
yeah, well then I'd probably kill my wife too if I wanted to cheat.
I wonder what was the worst punishment back then, adultery or murder. Yeah, it's just like, I just feel like the overarching story does come across as very like underbaked, and I do think a lot of the Cole is not a great main character. Like, I don't think there's a decent story there, but they don't kind of go hard enough at it or tie it into the actual cases to make it not necessarily followable, but interesting. But that's not to say, like, as I said, like, I do think a lot of like side characters are pretty memorable. Especially the ones that are persistent from case to case. Like, the ones that kind of turn up for one case, a lot of them are very forgettable. But, like, as I mentioned, the Irish captain, very, very memorable.
I think your partners and stuff are well
all your partners are all very good,
characterized.
yeah.
Like, and like, although, like, they do kind of come and go, there are one or two characters within the cases which are quite memorable. Like, the shitty fucking car salesman from the diplomatic car case. Where
The guy
Bukowski's
who
like,
likes to fuck kids.
yeah, like the fact I love just Bukowski in that one. It's just like, Cole, just let me shoot him.
Yeah.
It'll just be our secret. Just let me shoot him.
And and then also I do want to say, like, I think some of them kind of forgettable, but I do think a majority of the actual like individual cases they're interesting enough. Like, they're going to keep your attention for like the 40-ish minutes. Most of them are.
Yeah, I think like in terms of like a mystery writing, like, or like a criminal, like a kid, like, things are set up properly, they're pay off properly, there's red herrings and stuff. You know,
So,
it never feels like it pulls like
I have an answer for you, Nick.
Oh God.
So
What
adultery.
was the worst? What was the punishment for each crime, Alex?
So this is from 2014. Possible fine of up to $1,000, or as much as 3 years in jail.
Okay.
3 years for fucking someone that isn't your wife. Can I ask what state these are illegal in? Because I imagine they're going to be very redneck.
I bet it's like the very like middle of America states.
Yeah. Pennsylvania.
Places like Utah.
17 states.
Okay, you got a list of them.
So we know
Genuinely
where not to
curious.
go.
It's going to be like it's going to be the religious ones, surely.
Yeah.
All right, click the link. I just told me Utah had
Yeah, see?
decriminalized it.
Oh,
Decriminalize all.
good job, Utah. You Mormons are okay. Maybe that's why Mormonism was so popular, because you were allowed to be, because they supported polygamy.
You can't go against it if it's a religious thing.
You can't fuck someone that isn't your wife. Just make everyone your wife.
So, New York,
Fuck off.
All right.
Apparently. Now, this is on Wikipedia, so I don't know how recent this is. Idaho, Oklahoma,
Yeah, there it is.
Michigan, Wisconsin. It's a felony. It's a misdemeanor in other states.
Well, so it's a slap on the wrist.
Well, the misdemeanor would obviously just also be like, well, then you'd be
this has a
eligible
different
for
range
divorce.
of punishments. So it's a $10 fine in Maryland.
Imagine you walked in here, honey, I just fucked the maid. Here's your
You
tenner.
just threw $10 at someone. It's like, yeah, fuck off.
And then Michigan has 4 years.
Jesus.
It would depend how much I really hate my wife.
So yeah, that's the America.
A 4 year break away from her might be worth it.
Yeah, you might come back and be like, you know what? That wasn't worth it. I'm ready to give this another go, honey.
Otherwise, I'd be like, sweet 4 year break. I thank fuck I'm away from
Think
that
of all the
bitch.
men I can shag in prison now.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, like and even some of the like the overarching stories and some of the deaths as well, I think are pretty. Like I think Homicide's a perfect example of it. Is like there is an overarching story there of like this Black Dahlia killer, and like whether it's a copycat, whether it's the actual one, or is it just, as Rusty says, just
I think
a bunch of disgruntled husbands.
the story peaks in Homicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
And
like,
the story
it's-
peaks in Homicide, and it's nothing to do with the actual story is peaking.
Yeah.
It's actually, it feels like the most well-developed desk.
Yeah.
And
Like-
I think it tells because there's no DLC for Homicide.
Yeah.
Like, the DLC, because it was so easy probably to slot the DLC in ones that didn't have such a tightly written story.
Like the DLC slots fine into Arson because there's kind of undertones of the main story in it.
Yeah.
But
Like, the arson story is the one that, like, it's been getting fed by, like, the newspapers you can collect, isn't it?
Because
yes,
it's your boy, the
Yeah.
flamethrower dude. But it's one of those things, because like they are someone, it ties into the new developments. Like, it's silly because at the end of the day, you really could easily have like a vague overarching story for each of them pretty simply. Like for Traffic, you could have like in the diplomatic one, there's the whole like thing of the the burglars who are like taking cars, taking them out of state and all that. Like have each one of the cases tie into that, and the final case be, oh, you take down the ring. Like Homicide, it's fine, it does what it does. Like Vice, it could be about the big drug dealer of the town, because it's all about reefer and stuff. And then like for Arson, it could be about that development thing and how they're burning places down and because they can't buy them out and shit like that or whatever. I can't remember. I think that's
to
roughly
be fair
what
to
it is.
Vice,
But
it did have the morphine as like the running story.
yeah, well there you go.
But
yeah. Fair, yeah.
But it's so much more underdeveloped compared to
Yeah.
something like Homicide.
Yeah.
Like,
it feels like Homicide is the only one that actually, like, hits the potential that this could have all been.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Like
that does end with the big shootout in the freezer warehouse, doesn't it? Is that not the final Vice? No.
Yeah, but then the morphine carries into the Arson a wee bit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you find
To do
out
with the Doctor.
yeah, you find out it's to do with the Doctor and the former army peeps.
Yeah, the other former army guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I think like it just it's weird that they can do it for some deaths, but yet weren't able to do it for others.
Like, part of me thinks, like, I can only assume maybe there was, like, a hierarchy in terms of, like, the writing of the game. And, like, they were told, all right, we're going to have this overarching story. We'll kind of, here's the narrative bit you need to weave in. And then maybe was each death then, like, given to, like, a different team of writers. And just one of them took the ball and ran with it much more than the others.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I think I agree. Like the case, I think the writing's pretty solid.
Yeah, like, in isolation, I do think, like, if you were to take any case in isolation, I think 9 times out of 10, it's an interesting story. And there's one or two that, because they're, like, I think, like, if you were to take the last, like, say, Homicide case, it's a bit weird because, like, there's no real murder there. You're, like, going from, like, it's like you deciphering all those clues.
Yeah.
It would be a bit weird, like, as a story thing. But I think 9 times out of 10, if you pick a single case from like that fucking chapter select, you'll have a good time.
One or two of them are standout though.
Yeah.
Like the final one on Traffic, I think, is standout with like the chase across the
movie set.
And the shootout. No, I think that's really good.
So, is there any final story and character bits you want to talk about before we head on to the next section?
Kelso should have been the main character.
Well, the
LA Noire too, man.
No,
is Kelso not the one that's like does all them like was?
He's a PI.
Oh yeah, he's that's Jack. Sorry,
He's the one that you take over, Jack Kelso.
yeah, I forgot his first name. Sorry, I forgot Jack's surname.
LA Noire 2 plays Jack Kelso.
So, my final section, much to Hans's chagrin. Do you think we will ever see an LA Noire 2 or any form of spiritual successor to LA Noire?
no.
You just straight up saying no, you don't think so?
No.
I can't say it.
Not
So
with Bondi being closed down, no.
So this is where it kind of gets weird. Is like I believe Rockstar owns the rights to LA Noire now.
Yes. They bought Bondi when it liquidated.
They bought Bondi, and then I think people within Team Bondi maybe left and started a new company that was working on a game called Whore of the Orient. That was meant to be like a spiritual successor to LA Noire. But I think then like they went bankrupt, they were bought out by another company, and then they shuttered the studio. And as far as like the last word on it was that project has just been canned and cancelled. Like it's not even just in like development hell or anything. So do you not see Rockstar ever deciding we'll go back to?
No, why? Like keep asking. Stop twisting the knife. No.
See, Rockstar will never do it because there is no way to like monetize it post launch.
You don't see LA Noire online.
No,
you're like I completely agree. They are making gangbusters with GTA Online and Red Dead, and I completely agree. I would say that they will take those horses and just run with them until those horses die. Like I don't even think you'll see another Max Payne.
I also think it's going to be very difficult to do an evidence gathering detective game that doesn't get old.
So, Hans and I talked about this, and I kind of thought, or the line of thought in my head was, do you think the technology is there or will get there to ever do sort of procedurally generated this type of game?
Oh, so it's like different for everyone?
Yeah, not either different for everyone, or you will actually just be able to like procedurally like. So obviously, like the crimes those like flash crimes that happen as you're driving around the city. Imagine if that was like you could procedurally generate a new crime on the fly, like that actually had the depth of investigating evidence and stuff like that. You would definitely have to like strip out the voice acting and stuff, like. But do you think you could ever get to the point where you could procedurally generate like an actual case, essentially, or something that has the maybe not the full depth of a case, but has more of the stylings of a case, but then like is a lot more in depth than like the flash crimes, like a random chase that happens?
See, I don't know if the lack of voice acting would be. It feels like that would be a setback for it, because like. I think the voice acting will make a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So if you take that out, it's all text based.
Like how is like on top of that, like say if you're using the same interrogation system, I understand that obviously you'd have the voice, like the facial stuff, but the way that lines are delivered does also tie into that to some extent. You know. Of someone going like, I don't know what you mean, officer. I definitely didn't see that man shoot my boss.
In that case, what if you strip out the doubt side of things? And what if it's just, I believe this person, or I have a piece of evidence that contradicts what you just said?
Yeah, you could do it that way.
In that way, I think if you did that, you could probably get away with no voice acting because it's more than... Yeah. Is it just... Because like that's kind of what a lot of Danganronpa is like it's more about it's like, oh, I have a piece of evidence that contradicts what you said. Your challenge like there is more
even Phoenix Wright, you know, as well. It's like, although you can doubt, it's more like a press for more information. It's not necessarily you doubt them. It's like, look, do you have more info you could give me?
So
like
I'm wondering then, like, if I think there's a lot of caveats, and I think you probably wouldn't get like something like Rockstar doing it. Like it would maybe be something you would see like an indie studio take on. But I feel like if someone were to try and do something like this, that's where it would need to go. Like, I don't think you could do this super high budget, like fully voice acted, fully motion captured and all that sort of thing again, because I just don't think you would get people invested in it.
So I think that would be cool as like a side thing, 100%. But to me, I don't think the stories overall would be particularly interesting. Like, you wouldn't have character development and stuff like that, because it would very much be, this was a knife crime, you need to find a knife, and maybe it's a type of knife that a certain person has, but there's no character behind those, because you've stripped out voice acting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To me, I think the closest we might get to one of these might be one of the Sherlock games from the Sherlock producers.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, like, do you think maybe then is the closest thing you're getting to this nowadays, is it like that Sherlock Holmes series?
100%. I do think so.
Frogwares does that?
Frogware, yeah. So like I play Crimes and Punishment, and it's a very similar system where you can actually select multiple people, whether they're right or wrong, and accuse them. And then it's been a while since I played it, but then like the case can end, or else I think maybe you get a cutscene like, Sherlock, don't be a dick, it's clearly not that person.
Yeah.
And then it can affect your score at the end. But I feel like just if to do it nowadays, you would need more to it. Like, I still think you need your action set pieces because that's just fun. I do feel like you need like to advance the interrogation stuff, or like, because essentially you could just play it like if you have the interrogation stuff, just be Phoenix Wright. I don't feel like that would be an issue. Like, it's like you said, if you want to do health bars, yeah, okay, have hit bars. If you do so many wrong presenting of evidence, yeah, okay, it kicks you back to the start of the interrogation. Fine. If you want to do that, you can do that. But I also think it would be far more interesting, especially with the tech nowadays, that here are 5 suspects that you can arrest at any time.
Yeah.
And literally, this could be the first person you meet, and you're like, I want to arrest that person. And it'll complete this case, but you'll get 1-star rating because you've arrested the wrong person, and you haven't found all the evidence and you haven't uncovered all this. And I think it'd be cooler if you pursue this one person, you will have these series of events, but you can miss some of these events because you haven't collected the evidence that'll lead you to certain places, or you haven't the right dialogue choices. Like, the case needs to be a branching. It would almost kind of look like what are those, like Heavy Rain? Like, what's the, like, it would look like one of those.
Yeah, like Detroit Become Human has like that big, massive, like, essentially like spider diagram that kind of stretches out and stretches out for each chapter.
It would look like that, essentially, with each one being at the very end. This is like as far as you could take this person before you have to arrest them.
The only issue with that is you're relying on people giving a shit about the rating. It's like, we've kind of talked about it here, is like, the rating means fuck all in LA Noire. Like,
I suppose it does.
If it's not like a sense of personal accomplishment for like the person who's playing it, which for some people, yeah, it might be. Like, some people might want to get 5-star in every case, but for some people it might just be, I don't give a shit if I get 1-star or 5 stars. I just want to, like, if it counts as finishing the case, fuck yeah, I'm happy.
I suppose it does, but you could also then take into the fact that there's replayability then, because people might want to go back and 5-star it. There is, if you maybe do it with that, like that, why can I not remember that
I would
fucking
say
game?
lock endings and story progression behind it, rather than have it purely be based on score.
So, personally for me, I just can't recommend LA Noire. Like, I get at the time it was supposed to be this big revolutionary thing, like a whole leap forward in motion capture, and I appreciate, like, a lot of what LA Noire did probably helped get us to where we are now with certain performance capture stuff. But when so much of your game hinges on that and not like deep gameplay or a meaningfully well written story outside of few small aspects, it's just so hard to look at it and be like, yeah, this is a game you should play, because at times it barely feels like a game. Like, if I can just hit A and get through a game, that's kind of more of like a visual novel type thing. Not to say those aren't games, but it's not what you're coming to this specifically for. I think bits of it are very good, but overall, this game it was a real fucking drag to try and play again. And I couldn't recommend it to someone. If you haven't played it before, I still wouldn't recommend it. I just don't think it does what it wants to do particularly well. Hans.
I always knew this was a divisive game. I've played it 3 times, and even the 4th time was tough. It has not held up well. 100%. It has not held up well. Would I recommend someone going back and playing it now? Like, if you've played it before, definitely not, because there's no twists and turns or anything to surprise you. If you haven't played it before, I would probably only recommend it as if you're really into mystery games. Go back if you haven't played it. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend to go back. But I will always have a soft spot for this game. To date, it will always remain one of my favorite games because I still vividly remember sitting in our old game room with the big leather rocking chairs and playing it. Like, that's how much I fondly remember this game. So, look, it's not good by today's standard by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know. I still love this game to bits.
Alex.
So, what I will say is, if you haven't played this game before, I would actually say play it, but stop after Homicide. Because I think Homicide the story is so well done, and there are ways to skip all the side stuff. Because I forgot to mention this, I just remembered. If you feel a chase section or, tail section so many times, it offers you a prompt if you want to skip that section.
Yeah.
So I did that a few times because I really couldn't be asked tailing people. Use that to skip the worst sections of the game to experience the better sections of the game. Because I do think up to Homicide, that story is incredibly well done, and the payoff for it is amazing. So, yeah. It isn't great, but it's not bad.
So play half the game is kind of what our recommendation is. If you haven't played it before, play half the game. If you have played it, do not go back to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you like to fuck young boys, don't play this game. You'll be prosecuted for it.
I feel like I should have to censor that, but we'll see. I feel like if that clip is taken out of context, someone could be in trouble.
Nick, one of our highest rated videos on our channel is that episode of Naked Noire, and that's because it has naked in the title and young boys in the titles.
Yeah.
All right, so the internet knows what it wants.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is not all for today, though. RY, what is your game for November?
Are you messaging him now?
I have already messaged him. I just need to open Discord to see. So I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is?
No.
Are you ready to learn what IOI's game?
So I did ask him before we get into it and find out what it is. And he said he had 2 games in mind, and he had to be in the mood to play them both.
It's a sexy game. It's a sexy game. It's a sexy game. Oh my god, guys, we're finally doing it. It's a sexy game.
Finally house party.
So what that means in IY language is it's a long game and it's probably an RPG.
So I think I know what one of his choices might be. And I think it might be the one he's probably picked, to be honest. So I can now happily reveal that IY's pick for November is Scarlet Nexus.
Yeah, a long RPG.
Yeah, that was also the game I thought it might be.
No one's going to finish that. Sorry, Alex will finish that. No one else is going to finish that.
I don't know, man. Endwalker comes out this month.
But, why would he not leave that till he gets the 2-month cycle?
I don't know.
Jesus. Is it on Game Pass?
It's on Game Pass.
It came out recently on Game Pass.
On PC?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, join us at the end of November. We will be discussing Scarlet Nexus, but for now, it is a goodbye from Hans.
Have a good one.
A goodbye from Alex.
See you later.
And a goodbye from myself. good cop